All right, of course, it's still TVC Breakfast here. Well, let's roll it. It's time now to take a look at the front pages of the national dailies, and the managing editor, Gloom Television, is here with us. Ayodele Adio. Thank you very much indeed for coming, Ayo.
Thank you for having me.
As always.
Yes, thank you for joining us. All right, let's begin with the punch. National Assembly invasion. Oshibajo sacks DSS DG Daura, replaces him with Seyefa. Now, ex-DSS boss whisked away by security operatives. Siege a coup against democracy, says Saraki and Dogara. PDP chair Secondus asks U.S. to expel Buhari. Ooh. Okay, first off, this drama that happened at the National Assembly yesterday, how embarrassing.
It was a sorry sight to see. You know when the news broke in the morning on social media, when I saw videos, I thought it was some pawn somebody was playing at the National Assembly. I didn't want to believe, that respected men of the DSS were going to lay siege or a barricade or stop distinguished senators for performing their constitutional duties, right in their offices. It was such an embarrassing sight, an assault on a democratic institution. And quite frankly, I was impressed by the rage and the anger of Nigerians, because it was right before the entire world. We're not a banana republic. We're a country of rules, regulations, of laws, and we should not be portraying such despicable image before the entire world for whatsoever reason.
And you know, the irony of it all, you had this woman who stood her ground.
Oh, yes.
Incidentally, her name is Good Head.
Oh, yes. I was proud, more so because it was a woman who demonstrated courage, even when men were there before and didn't have the audacity to challenge the men. And I was super impressed that the woman challenged them and enforced her rights. That you could not do that before the entire world.
All right, moving on. Of course, we're going to be discussing this even at length, during the show. Strike imminent as ASU rejects Babalakin-led negotiation team. This is another trouble brewing right there. We haven't seen the last of ASU strikes.
I mean,
and all the challenges in the education sector.
I mean, since when Jega was ASU chairman, we've been seeing strikes in this country. Way before Jega. I mean, but Jaga's strike was one of such prominence, the one that has some sort of a rock star effect, in Nigeria. So, I mean, ever since then, in the early 90s up until now, it's been one strike to another. We need to find a way to fix these insistent problems. And I quite frankly agree that our educational system is not properly funded. The question is, how are you going to open more windows of finance? How are you going to effectively fund our educational system to stop most of these things from happening? And I take a very strong approach to it. Universities have the capacities to stand on their own, and they should stand on their own.
But unfortunately, they're not.
They're not. It's just hand approach for every single thing that we do.
Everything. Well, it's no longer news that Akpabio, former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has resigned as Senate minority leader. We hear that it is likely that he will make his defection official today. That's from the PDP, of course, to the APC. But let's leave that. Tension in Anambra as bribe-seeking policeman kills businessman. Of course, life has been snuffed out of a 30-year-old businessman in Anambra, a father of 4, over a bribe. A very sad situation there. And Catholic bishops warn members against endorsing politicians. And CBN may increase interest rates
All
soon.
right, Ngo, maybe you just stop
so that we can go to the nation.
Absolutely, and take some of the stories here so you don't finish everything in one fell swoop.
Go ahead.
All right, the nation here. Well, DSS boss Daura fired. That's the story. But again, Ayo, doesn't it remind us of the tragedy of leadership on the continent of Africa? So that when people assume positions of leadership, they behave in such a manner that is reminiscent of the words of King Louis V, when he said, "Après moi, la deluge." After me, the floods.
Yes.
Oh yes, it's a serious syndrome, with the African man. First of all, I'm sorry to say with the African man, it's human nature to love power, to adore power. It's human. The difference is that in other parts of the world, they've learned the trick of building strong institutions that suppresses that instinct of man in them. So, unfortunately, on our own part in Africa, and more so in Nigeria, we have continued to strengthen men and weaken our institutions consistently. So we're a country of big men, you know, and very, very weak and
which was what Obama talked about when he came here the first time. Well, they have listed 11 sins of Daura, denting President Muhammadu Buhari's image, overriding Buhari, Shibaji on crucial matters such as the 43.45 million recovered from Osborne Tower, alleged disrespect for court orders on ex-NSA Sambo Dasuki, and all of them, and they're going 11. And then you wonder, all these moments, why did they allow him to continue to carry on in that manner?
You know what? That's a question we would like to have answers to much later. So
all right. Which other story do we have here to
what
take a
else
look
of
at now?
there?
Well, you have taken all the stories now. Okay, CBN may increase rates to tame inflation.
Yeah.
Well, monetary policy rate we hear, I mean, remains at 14%, but we hear they may increase it.
I mean, there has to be. You see, there's a problem there. And at some point, we might need to ask ourselves the very tough question. What do we want to deal with here? Do we want to create jobs? Or do we just want prices down? You know, increasingly, if you look at the stats, you know, the manufacturers have said last year they had an inventory of 300 billion naira, which was a 200 and something increase from what they had in 2016. It means the purchasing power of people are continuously dwindling. People can't buy. So you have to ask yourself the very tough question.
Without increasing their salaries,
exactly.
their income.
So do we pursue an expansionary monetary policy wherein interest rates are going to drop so that private sector can borrow at lower rates, create jobs, employ more people, or we're just going to keep regulating, you know, this inflation thing? So it's a question we need to ask. But if you asked me, I think that we should find policies that drives the manufacturing sector, that allows private sector to borrow monies at cheap funds, that allows access to finance for entrepreneurs who want to access funds at cheaper rates. That's the way to go. And if we don't do that, we'll continue to have this siege of unemployment in our country that continues to cycle violence.
And it's very high right now at 14%.
Oh, yes.
That's the official you know,
I mean, you borrow at
unemployment,
over
that's
20%.
Unemployment rate. Okay, to the Daily Sun now, still the same stories that you find, you know, in all of the papers. Akpabio resigns as Senate Minority Leader. Aftermath of DSS invasion, barricade of National Assembly, Daura, end of a spy master. Okay, FG appoints AFR director from Bayelsa, acting DSS DG. All right, 2009 pact, ASU pulls out of renegotiation. IPOB insists on referendum and not restructuring, hits back at Biafra Zionist leader. So, should it be referendum or restructuring? Both are words.
I don't know, whatever they decide, whether it's restructuring, whether it's whatever they want to pursue, they must not disenfranchise themselves in the coming elections. The idea that you are not going to go out to vote in 2019 must be the most silly decision they would ever have to take. They have to go out there to vote, to make their votes count, and they should find a pressure group or some lobby way to push for a referendum or to push for restructuring. But the one thing they should not afford to do is to boycott that elections, because they'll be worse off.
Pay dearly for that. Okay, I guess that's really all from the Daily Sun. Okay.
Well, the Vanguard newspaper, not you know, very much different from what we have on the front pages of other papers. DSS boss fired for actions beyond his powers. Well, that's the story, and of course the pictures there show you the scenes, like you know, action movie scenes, you know, really. Well,
you have a good head questioning the rationale behind
all right, that's
the
it on the front. I beg your pardon, on your screen there, the woman, a good head who stood up to the security operatives yesterday. All right, no more excessive profit in government contracts. That's coming from BPP boss.
So they were excessive profits before.
That's what they're saying. So, no more. All right, I guess that really does it for the review of the papers, the headlines this morning. Of course, you'll get a reminder much later at the end of the show. In the meantime, let's say thank you very much, Ayo Adio, for joining us for the paper review. I guess we'll be keeping you to talk about the next issue right here, which is the burning